SIEM log retention sounds boring until the bill arrives. One SOC I worked with kept every log searchable for a year because that was the default. The result was predictable. Huge cost, slow searches, and no clear reason for half the data. Then an incident needed 90-day identity history. The logs existed, but the useful ones were buried in noise. The question is not how long can we keep everything. The question is what must be searchable, what can be archived, and what actually helps us detect and respond. SIEM log retention is the policy for how long security logs are stored, where they are stored, and how available they are for search. Say it this way: retention decides which logs stay hot, which move to warm or cold storage, and when logs expire. In a NIST-style view, this sits inside log management for detection, analysis, response, and audit support. Hot means searchable now. Warm usually means slower or reduced search. Cold means archived, cheaper, and restored when needed. Retention is not just a storage setting. It is a risk decision, a budget decision, and an incident response decision. Before a real retention model, teams usually do one of two things. They keep too little and lose evidence when an incident crosses the 30-day mark. Or they keep everything hot and pay heavily for logs nobody uses. Both hurt the SOC. With ingest-based pricing, every source you send into the SIEM can raise cost. High-volume logs like DNS, proxy, endpoint telemetry, and cloud activity can grow fast. If those logs are all searchable for a long period, the bill can beat the security value. A retention plan solves this by matching log value to storage tier. It keeps investigation data available without treating every event like gold. Start by listing log sources: identity, endpoint, firewall, DNS, email, cloud control plane, SaaS audit, vulnerability data, and application logs. Then classify them by value. Ask 4 questions. Does this source support a high-quality detection? Does it help investigate common incidents? Is it required by regulation, contract, or legal hold? How often do analysts search it after 30, 60, or 90 days? High-value logs get more hot retention. Medium-value logs may go warm. Low search, compliance-heavy logs go cold. Archive is cheap compared with hot search, but slower. That is fine if your process can restore on demand. Finally, measure cost per detection. If a log source costs a lot and never drives alerts, searches, or cases, challenge it. Here is a common SOC story. An identity alert fires for suspicious sign-in behavior on a contractor account. The analyst searches hot identity logs for the last 14 days. They confirm unusual access times and several denied attempts. Next, they pivot into hot cloud admin logs and endpoint events tied to the user. Nothing shows broad admin activity. The incident lead asks for a 90-day look-back to understand when the behavior started. Those older identity logs are not hot. They are in cold archive. The team opens a restore request, pulls the needed date range, and searches it in a temporary workspace. They find the pattern began 6 weeks earlier. After closure, the team changes policy. Identity stays hot for 90 days. Noisy proxy logs stay hot for 14. Good retention design gives you 3 wins. It controls cost, keeps the right evidence, and makes analysts faster because hot data is cleaner. It also supports compliance by proving what you retain and for how long. But retention does not fix bad logging. If a system never records the right event, keeping it for 7 years will not help. Retention does not make alerts accurate. It does not replace endpoint detection, identity controls, or case management. Cold storage also has a real limit. Restore takes time. If your playbook needs instant answers, that data probably belongs in hot or warm storage, at least for the period when incidents are most likely to be investigated. Retention sits at the center of the defensive stack because the SIEM is where many teams search across sources. Endpoint tools collect detailed host activity. Identity systems produce sign-in and privilege logs. Network tools produce flow, DNS, and proxy records. Cloud platforms create control plane and audit events. The SIEM brings that together for detection and investigation. UEBA depends on history to compare current behavior with past behavior. So some identity and access data may need longer searchable windows. SOAR uses SIEM results to trigger playbooks and gather context. A data lake or object archive may hold cold logs. The goal is simple: fast access for active defense, cheap storage for long-term proof. If you are starting, Do not begin with a giant retention number. Begin with an inventory. List every log source, daily volume, owner, current retention, and known use cases. Then map each source to detections and investigations. Identity logs may need 90 days hot. Endpoint alerts may need 90 days hot, with raw details shorter. DNS might be 30 days hot and 1 year cold. Firewall allow logs may be shorter hot, unless they support specific investigations. Compliance logs may be cold for multiple years if the requirement says so. Test restore before an incident. Time it. Document it. Then review cost monthly. Track cost per detection, cost per case, and searches by log type. Retention should change as evidence changes. Recap in 3 beats. First, hot data is searchable and expensive, so use it where speed matters. Second, tier logs by value, not habit. Identity, endpoint, cloud, DNS, and network data do not all deserve the same treatment. Third, archive cheap, restore on demand, and let incident response plus compliance drive the timeline. The best SIEM log retention plan is defensible. You can explain why each source is kept, where it lives, and what it costs per useful detection or investigation. If this helped, subscribe. New Security Tools Decoded episode daily, plus the daily ranked CVE brief on this channel.